Imagine airport security opening a suitcase and finding a living human inside. Now imagine the next bag over is full of cocaine-filled pineapples. From Instagram influencers on dream cruises to wigs hiding half a kilo of coke, from holy statues packed with meth to puppies surgically turned into drug mules. Smugglers have tried stuffing fish under dresses, snakes into pants, and birds into hair. They've carved Bibles, fake coconuts, and even car parts into rolling drug warehouses. Some schemes fooled border guards for years. Others collapsed in seconds on X-ray screens. By the end of this video, you'll never look at luggage the same way again. Let's dive into the 39 dumbest smuggling schemes in history. Drug runners Instagrammed luxury cruise while smuggling suitcases of cocaine. Customs officers in Sydney pulled 95 kilos of cocaine from suitcases. The bags belonged to 3 Canadian passengers from the cruise ship. For weeks, Melina Roberge and Isabelle Lagacé posted glamorous travel selfies. Their Instagram showed cocktails, beaches, designer outfits, but never the suitcases. The cruise started in Britain, island-hopped the Caribbean, and reached Australia. Australian Border Force already had intelligence that cocaine couriers were on board. Officers opened the oversized bags and found bricks wrapped in plastic. The women later admitted they joined for money and online status. Their dream vacation ended in courtrooms, not infinity pools and buffets. Man's ridiculously bulky toupee hid half kilo of cocaine. Airport police in Barcelona first noticed the man's unbelievably tall hairpiece. From the front, he looked normal, but the side profile was absurd. Officers invited the Colombian traveler for a routine secondary screening and chat. When they lifted the toupee, a perfectly shaped cocaine package appeared. The bundle was taped directly to his bald scalp under the wig. Investigators later weighed it and found roughly half a kilo of cocaine. Reuters. He had flown from Bogota hoping Spanish customs wouldn't examine his hairstyle. Instead, his mugshot went worldwide as the meme of airport security. His wig probably got more attention than any cartel ever expected. Same man caught smuggling same drug twice at same airport. Getting caught once with meth at a border crossing is bad. This traveler decided to try the same route again 1 week later. U.S. Customs and Border Protection. At Seattle-Tacoma Airport, officers had already flagged his name and behavior. The first time, they found methamphetamine hidden inside specially stitched jeans. U.S. Customs and Border Protection. He was released pending investigation, apparently deciding lightning wouldn't strike twice. Days later, he showed up at the same gate with luggage. Agents recognized him, pulled him aside, and searched his bags immediately. Inside, they discovered yet more meth, concealed in nearly identical fashion. U.S. Customs and Border Protection. By the second arrest, nobody believed he was just an unlucky tourist. Passenger tried sneaking gun parts mixed with children's Lego bricks. Security screeners noticed something heavier than plastic hiding inside a child's toy box. The carry-on belonged to a traveler flying from Newark, supposedly on vacation. Inside the Lego container, officers found disassembled handgun parts tucked among bricks. The slide, barrel, and other components were wrapped to avoid obvious outlines. From the X-ray image, it looked like a strange jumble of shapes. Agents laid everything on the table, reassembling a very real firearm. The passenger claimed he forgot the gun was inside the toy box. TSA and police pointed out it had very deliberately been broken down. In the end, the LEG October set built a criminal case instead. TSA found gun parts wrapped in foil inside teapot. At another U.S. airport, officers stared at a bizarre teapot X-ray. Instead of a hollow interior, the screen showed a dense metallic knot. When they opened the pot, it wasn't loose tea or sugar. They pulled out aluminum foil bundles shaped suspiciously like mechanical components. Unwrapping them revealed more handgun parts carefully nested to fit the teapot. The traveler insisted it was just scrap metal, which fooled exactly nobody. Agents laid the pieces out and confirmed they formed a functioning pistol. The plan apparently relied on security ignoring a solid black teapot image. Instead, the weird kitchenware became one of TSA's strangest confiscated items. Cocaine smuggler hid 3 pounds of drugs inside frozen meat. Baggage handlers at San Jose Airport flagged a suitcase oozing suspicious moisture. ABC 7, San Francisco. Inside, officers found packages of raw meat wrapped far too carefully. They cut into the slabs, and white powder spilled onto the table. Field tests confirmed it was cocaine, packed tightly inside the frozen meat. The passenger had checked the bag onto a domestic Alaska Airlines flight. His plan depended on nobody wanting to touch dripping, bloody packages closely. Instead, the strange weight and texture made security take an extra look. 3 pounds of cocaine later, he was escorted away in handcuffs. He learned there's such a thing as meat that's too suspicious. Marijuana bundles wrapped as bright orange fake carrots in truck. At the US-Mexico border, a truckload of carrots rolled into inspection. Amazon. Officers immediately noticed the vegetables were all identical and strangely shiny. Under the orange plastic wrapping, each carrot was really a bundle of marijuana. Some were even tied off with green tape to mimic leafy tops. Amazon. X-ray images showed dense cylinders that didn't match real produce patterns. When agents sliced one open, plant material crumbled out instead of juice. The driver claimed he was just hauling mixed vegetables from Mexico into Texas. Border agents counted hundreds of fake carrots, filling crates in the trailer. That day, Customs seized a salad that would never pass any inspection. Border agents found 50 pounds of weed inside foosball table. A Canadian woman tried crossing the U.S. border with a brand new foosball table, the New Daily. To officers, it seemed oddly heavy for something mostly made of hollow wood. When they x-rayed the table, the rods and walls looked unusually solid. Agents pried it open and discovered tightly packed bricks of marijuana. Smugglers had stuffed cannabis into the table's sides, legs, and playing field, the New Daily. From the outside, it looked like a normal game ready for parties. Inside, it was more like a vending machine for illegal merchandise. The driver claimed she bought it cheaply and never inspected it closely. Either way, her bargain foosball table came with federal trafficking charges included. Cocaine packed inside hollowed pineapples, slipping through fruit shipments. In Spain, police opened a shipping container stacked with fresh pineapples from Latin America. Most fruits looked normal, but a few had strange, uniform plastic cores inside. Smugglers had hollowed them, inserted wax-covered cocaine cylinders, then glued the tops back. From the outside, the fruits even had matching crowns and natural imperfections. Sniffer dogs still caught the smell of drugs leaking through the sweet aroma. Officers sliced one pineapple straight down and hit a perfectly smooth package. The load contained dozens of doctored fruits hidden among the legitimate shipment. Traffickers had bet on Customs not checking every pineapple on the pallet. Instead, the most suspicious produce on the dock wasn't rotten, just expensive. Ceramic fake coconuts turned out to be solid heroin. Another time, officers inspected a shipment of decorative coconuts headed abroad, ABC. The items were heavy, glossy shells that didn't quite sound hollow. When x-rayed, they appeared as uniform solid masses instead of layered husks, ABC. Customs officers drilled into one and hit tightly packed brown powder. Lab tests confirmed it was heroin, molded to mimic the coconut interior. Smugglers had then coated everything with resin to make realistic outer shells. From a distance, they looked like cheap beach souvenirs from any tourist stall. Up close, the weight, smell, and X-ray profile betrayed the whole shipment. Those fake coconuts were worth far more than any beachfront gift shop. Liquor bottles contained dissolved drugs instead of only alcohol. Sometimes the bottle behind the bar isn't just tequila or rum. Traffickers have repeatedly dissolved cocaine or meth into liquor, then shipped bottles. One seizure involved glass bottles labeled as premium tequila arriving at a port. Officers noticed crystals forming in the liquid and an off-chemical odor. Tests showed dissolved methamphetamine, later recoverable through relatively simple chemical steps. The labels, caps, and tax stamps were all suspiciously pristine and identical. Investigators realized someone expected customs to sample paperwork, not the liquid itself. Instead, those bottles ended up in an evidence locker, not a nightclub. It was probably the least fun drinks shipment any cartel ever arranged. Greeting cards soaked in liquid cocaine mailed through regular post. In another scheme, traffickers tried turning heartfelt cards into chemical delivery systems. They dissolved cocaine in solution, painted it onto greeting card paper, then dried. History collection. To postal workers, the envelopes looked like ordinary birthday or holiday mail. Drug-sniffing dogs, though, kept alerting on these unusually fragrant paper packages. Customs labs discovered the cards could be re-soaked to extract the cocaine. Some cards even had cheerful cartoon designs masking a very different purpose. Investigators traced multiple mail routes linking South America, Europe, and prison addresses. The network relied on guards ignoring crinkly cards with slightly stiff pages. Eventually, every best wishes envelope went straight to evidence shelves instead. Holy books with hollowed centers stuffed full of contraband. Border agents are careful with religious items, but X-rays don't respect etiquette. Over the years, they have found Bibles and Korans carved out. Inside, traffickers stuffed drugs, phones, or rolls of tightly bundled cash. The outer pages remained intact, so the book opened almost normally at first. Only when officers flipped deeper did the rectangular cavities suddenly appear. One airport seizure showed perfectly cut pages hiding cocaine wrapped in plastic. The passenger insisted someone else must have swapped the book during travel. Officials pointed out his luggage also contained matching tape and cutting tools. That particular holy text ended up cataloged under evidence, not inspiration. Religious statues were actually solid blocks of crystal meth. In several cases, statues of saints arrived at airports feeling strangely heavy. X-ray scans showed uniform, dense material instead of hollow ceramic or plaster. When officers drilled into a Virgin Mary statue, white crystals poured out. Lab tests confirmed it was high-purity methamphetamine packed inside devotional figures. Other shipments hid meth in wise men figurines and religious candles from Mexico. Smugglers clearly hoped officers wouldn't crack open spiritual objects with power tools. But customs teams balanced respect for beliefs with responsibility to stop trafficking. They carefully documented the statues before cutting them open under supervision. The resulting photos showed halos and robes filled with nothing but narcotics. Electric guitars with hidden chambers strummed their way past customs. Musical instruments seem like perfect cover until somebody checks their weight and sound. Customs officers once opened a guitar case and found the body oddly dense. Tapping the wood produced a muted thud instead of a normal hollow ring. X-rays revealed cavities carved under the pickguard and along the guitar's edges. Inside, traffickers had packed pseudoephedrine tablets and other drug precursors tightly. From the outside, it still had strings, pickups, and a stage-ready finish. The courier claimed he was just a touring musician traveling between cities. Agents invited him to play a few chords on the special guitar. He watched silently as they unscrewed the plates and poured contraband out. Car parts molded from compressed marijuana shipped as auto components. When Spanish police cut open the car parts, marijuana spilled everywhere. The shipment arrived in Galicia labeled as replacement body panels and bumpers. On X-ray, the parts looked oddly dense, more like bricks than plastic. Investigators discovered the traffickers had pressed marijuana into molds shaped like panels. Each panel was wrapped in fiberglass, then sprayed factory-grade to blend. Customs officers even found fake barcodes and shipping stickers imitating real suppliers. Truck drivers swore they were just moving auto spares from Portugal into Spain. Under questioning, one mechanic admitted the parts would be ground up near Madrid. Instead of repair shops, the cargo went straight to evidence lockers and furnaces. Counterfeit phones hid diamonds inside hollow plastic casings. In New York, a routine counterfeit electronics bust turned into a diamond case. Agents at JFK Airport first thought they'd just intercepted cheap knockoff smartphones. The boxes felt unusually heavy, so inspectors ran them through X-ray scanners. Inside each plastic shell, they found hollowed compartments packed with loose, rough diamonds. The phones powered on, but most internal components were replaced by plastic fillers. Smugglers routed the parcels from West Africa through Europe to disguise origin. The idea was simple. Fake phones looked worthless enough to ignore. Instead, customs flagged the shipment because the declared value seemed strangely low. A quick drill into one handset turned the whole electronic shipment into evidence. Taxidermied animals stuffed with cocaine pretended to be museum exhibit. A shipment declared as educational taxidermy display arrived looking museum-grade and harmless. The crates held mounted snakes and other animals supposedly destined for a small gallery. Officers in Miami grew suspicious because the paperwork listed a vague rural sender. When they weighed the mounts, the numbers didn't match their expected stuffed weight. Inspectors sliced open a snake and found cocaine-filled packets tucked along its body. Several other mounts were packed the same way, stitched neatly under the fur. The sender had even included fake educational labels and Latin species names inside. Investigators later linked the shipment to traffickers already trading wildlife skins and drugs. The museum exhibit ended up displayed only in evidence photos and court files. Posters laminated with hidden cash passed as dorm room decor. In one European airport, security officers opened a tube of rolled wall posters. The traveler claimed they were cheap motivational prints for decorating a university dorm. An officer noticed the lamination around the edges felt unusually thick and stiff. When they peeled a corner apart, tightly folded euro notes began sliding out. Smugglers had sandwiched layers of bills between two printed sheets, then heat-sealed. The artwork itself was deliberately generic, just city skylines and random English slogans. Currency-sniffing dogs had actually ignored the posters because of the plastic covering. Still, the declared value was so low that customs flagged the shipment anyway. The student carrier lost both the posters and their shot at a quiet arrival. Smuggler hid fake medicine inside gutted computer towers. Australian border officers grew suspicious of a pallet of refurbished desktop computers. The towers looked brand new, yet the customs paperwork called them second-hand. When inspectors opened one case, there was no motherboard, just taped cardboard. Behind the cardboard, they found boxes of unapproved counterfeit pharmaceuticals tightly packed. The pills were labeled in multiple languages, mimicking legitimate European heart medications. Agents traced the shipment to a company already flagged for dodgy online pharmacies. Investigators discovered similar towers routed through other ports to dodge stricter medical rules. The smugglers bet inspectors cared more about drugs in suitcases than dusty desktops. Instead, those empty computer cases turned into a neat visual exhibit for prosecutors. Drug-infused clothing fibers looked like ordinary shirts on hangers. Customs officers in Dublin once stopped a suitcase full of plain, everyday clothes. Nothing inside looked suspicious. Soccer jerseys, jeans, even kid-sized t-shirts folded neatly. A drug dog, however, kept fixating on fabrics instead of pockets or seams. Lab tests later showed the garments were impregnated with liquid cocaine, then dried. Officials estimated nearly a fifth of the total fabric weight was high-purity drug. Smugglers planned to chemically strip the cocaine back out once the clothes arrived. To casualize, they were just colorful shirts bought cheaply in South America. Even X-rays showed nothing. The trick only appeared under chemical and UV analysis. That one suitcase turned into a textbook example for training future customs chemists. Underwater drone disguised as fish hauled bricks of cocaine. Off the coast of Spain, divers found a strange torpedo-shaped fish hugging a hull. The device was magnetically attached under a cargo ship well below the waterline. Inside, police discovered dozens of cocaine bricks packed into waterproof compartments. The homemade drone carried its own battery, GPS tracker, and remote release mechanism. Smugglers planned to detach it near a quiet stretch of coastline at night. A small boat could then recover the fish using precise coordinates and radio pings. Investigators realized corrupt crew members likely helped attach the pod in Latin America. The design was simple enough to copy, but stealthy against normal ship inspections. After the bust, ports tightened underwater sweeps, turning narco torpedoes into expensive, disposable failures. Prison inmates used dead rats stuffed with drugs as missiles. In a British prison yard, guards kept finding oddly heavy dead rats near walls. At first, staff assumed it was just grim wildlife getting trapped in razor wire. One officer finally cut open a carcass and found tiny drug packages inside. The rats had been stuffed with cannabis, spice, and small mobile phone parts. Smugglers outside launched them over the wall like morbid, furry baseballs. Inmates then retrieved the bodies, sliced them open, and shared the hidden contraband. Security cameras showed figures lurking near the perimeter, timing throws between patrol rounds. Once the trick was exposed, officers increased wall patrols and checked every carcass. The incident became a darkly famous example in prison security training sessions. Drug smuggling cat caught scaling prison fence with cocaine packets. In Sri Lanka, guards noticed a small cat repeatedly loitering near a prison kitchen. One afternoon, officers spotted it scrambling up a wall, carrying a tiny bundle. They intercepted the animal and discovered packets of heroin and SIM cards attached. The cat's collar and cloth pouch were carefully knotted, clearly prepared by humans. Investigators suspected outside smugglers had trained the cat to follow food rewards. The animal had allegedly made multiple successful runs before staff finally paid attention. After capture, authorities transferred the cat to a veterinary facility for observation. Local media nicknamed it a drug mule, turning the story into viral headlines. The prison responded by tightening perimeter checks, even for wandering neighborhood animals. Narco pigeon, delivering drugs into prison yard, nabbed mid-flight. In Kuwait City, guards looked up and saw a pigeon struggling with an oversized backpack. The bird was flapping clumsily above the prison yard, flying lower than usual. When it landed on a rooftop, officers managed to grab it with a net. They found a tiny, custom-sewn vest carrying dozens of small drug packets. The pigeon was likely trained to home in on a nearby rooftop release point. Smugglers just loaded the vest, released the bird, and trusted its navigation instincts. This time, the weight of the cargo slowed it enough for humans to notice. Authorities later displayed the bird's cloth backpack to show how creative traffickers got. The story pushed prisons worldwide to start watching the sky, not just fences. Woman tried smuggling 51 tropical fish around her waist. At Melbourne Airport, officers heard faint splashing while interviewing a nervous passenger from Singapore. When they asked about the sound, she claimed it was just a weird microphone. A pat-down revealed a specially sewn apron under her loose skirt and jacket. Inside the apron hung dozens of small plastic bags filled with tropical fish. Each bag was taped upright to keep breathing space and minimize noisy sloshing. The woman admitted she planned to sell the fish illegally in Australian pet markets. Officials later counted 51 rare freshwater specimens, including endangered Asian systems. Many were already stressed from the cramped, body temperature ride against her stomach. The fish ended up in quarantine tanks, while she ended up facing wildlife charges. Man carried nearly 5,000 protected leeches in bag. Toronto airport officers thought they were dealing with spilled shampoo, not nearly 5,000 leeches. A Canadian traveler returning from Russia had luggage full of plastic containers and damp cloths. Inside, inspectors discovered wriggling medicinal leeches packed in small batches for easier concealment. Experts later determined most specimens came from protected populations in Eastern Europe. The man claimed he collected them for personal research, not commercial sale or medicine. Authorities doubted that explanation, given the sheer number and careful packaging. Leech slime contaminated the inspection table, forcing officers to bag everything twice for safety. The live haul was transferred to scientists, who studied species and possible diseases. The smuggler faced hefty fines, showing even tiny creatures can trigger serious charges. Passenger caught with 44 lizards sewn inside underwear. Customs agents in Munich noticed a passenger moving stiffly and sweating despite cool weather. During a search, they found specially modified underwear with rows of tiny cloth pockets. Each pocket held a live lizard, legs bound to stop scratching or escape. In total, officers counted 44 rare reptiles jammed against the smuggler's skin. Some species were critically endangered, including brightly colored geckos prized by collectors. The man admitted he planned to sell them to European hobbyists for high prices. Veterinarians rushed to free the animals, though several had already died from stress. The underwear itself became evidence, photographed and stored like a bizarre piece of equipment. That one arrest highlighted how wildlife trafficking often looks more pathetic than sophisticated. Rare birds rolled into hair curlers hid in elaborate updo. At New York's JFK Airport, agents pulled aside a traveler whose hair looked strangely bulky. Inside her carry-on, they found dozens of plastic hair curlers wrapped in netting. Each curler contained a tiny finch, wings folded and beaks barely able to move. The birds had endured a long transatlantic flight, trapped in dark plastic tubes. Investigators believed they were destined for underground songbird competitions and illegal betting rings. The woman had reportedly been paid to wear her elaborate updo through immigration. X-rays showed little because the curlers looked like ordinary cosmetic accessories stuffed together. Once discovered, the birds were handed to wildlife rescuers, though some were too weak. Her mugshot, without the wig, looked almost unrecognizable compared to arrival security footage. Speaker systems made strange noises because they were full of animals. In Los Angeles, customs officers inspected a shipment of party speakers from Southeast Asia. When they lifted one box, they heard faint scratching that wasn't coming from wires. X-rays showed moving shapes inside the speaker cabinets, not just magnets and cones. Opening them revealed hidden compartments stuffed with exotic birds and small reptiles. The animals were crammed between insulation material and the speaker's plastic back panel. Smugglers counted on the idea that sound equipment frequently travels without thorough inspection. They even added extra screws and glue, hoping to discourage curious customs officers. Instead, the unusual noises and weight differences gave the trick away immediately. The speakers were destroyed, while the surviving animals were sent to rescue centers. Puppies surgically implanted with heroin discovered during veterinary check. Colombian police once raided a rural farm and found unusually stitched-up puppies. The animals were purebred Labradors, the kind often used as status pets abroad. Veterinarians x-rayed them and saw dark oval shapes in their abdomens and chests. Surgery revealed liquid heroin packets sewn inside, turning each puppy into living luggage. Traffickers planned to ship them to the United States as innocent-looking family dogs. Once delivered, the drugs would be removed and the animals likely abandoned, or worse. Several puppies survived after emergency operations, but not all made it through recovery. The lead veterinarian later called it the cruelest smuggling method she had ever seen. Images from that case still circle training courses as the ultimate horror example. Man tried crossing border with live snakes stuffed inside pants. At a Canadian border crossing, officers noticed a man's jeans moving independently from him. He was shifting uncomfortably, claiming he'd just been sitting too long on the bus. A pat-down revealed fabric pouches sewn inside his trousers and around his legs. Inside those pouches, agents found several live snakes, some rare and brightly patterned. The man had taped their mouths but left small holes so they could breathe. Their bodies coiled around his thighs, explaining the unnatural bulges and awkward walking. He intended to sell the reptiles to collectors across the border for quick cash. Wildlife officers later identified species protected under international trade agreements and domestic law. The snakes got new enclosures, while he got charged and permanently unforgettable headlines. Living man found folded inside suitcase on customs scanner. At a Spanish border checkpoint, officers ran a suitcase through an X-ray machine as usual. The screen showed bones, a spine, and curled-up knees instead of clothes. They opened the case and discovered a man folded tightly into the shell. He was sweaty, disoriented, and wedged between a thin mattress and cheap t-shirts. The plan was to smuggle him from North Africa into Europe without documents. A relative had checked the suitcase as regular luggage on a ferry crossing. Officials said the man had barely enough air to survive the short journey. The suitcase itself was reinforced with extra straps to resist bulging or tearing. Both passenger and relative were arrested, turning a desperate plan into a cautionary photo. Car dashboard packed with hidden migrants detected by heartbeat sensors. Along the US-Mexico border, officers used heartbeat detectors on what seemed like a normal SUV. The machine registered more pulses than expected for just 2 visible occupants. When they dismantled the front dashboard, they found a cramped, hidden compartment inside. 2 migrants were curled around wiring and air ducts, barely able to move. Smugglers had removed structural panels and airbags to carve out the extra space. From the outside, the SUV still passed basic visual checks and license plate scans. The hidden passengers were dehydrated and terrified the vehicle might crash or catch fire. Authorities later displayed the modified dashboard to show how far smugglers will go. The case pushed checkpoints to rely more on sensors than just quick visual inspections. Prohibition bootleggers hid whiskey bottles inside hollowed-out loaves. During American Prohibition, inspectors in the Midwest noticed bakery deliveries arriving unusually heavy. Crates, supposedly full of fresh bread, clunked when set down on warehouse floors. When agents sliced open a loaf, they found a glass bottle snugly inside. Bootleggers had hollowed loaves, inserted whiskey bottles, then glued crusts back together. Delivery boys stacked bread in restaurant kitchens, where owners quietly swapped bottles out. To customers and passing police, it just looked like another ordinary bakery shipment. Some bakers reportedly received threats if they refused to participate in the scheme. Once authorities caught on, they started stabbing loaves randomly with long metal skewers. The image of bread bleeding booze became one of Prohibition's most absurd scenes. Women's fake breast implants were actually bags of liquid meth. Customs officers in Madrid became suspicious of a traveler complaining about intense chest pain. She had recently flown from South America and seemed unusually tense during questioning. A medical exam revealed recent surgery scars and oddly shaped implants under the skin. Doctors drained the implants and found they were filled with liquid methamphetamine instead. Surgeons had inserted flexible drug packets where silicone prosthetics would normally sit. The woman admitted she'd been promised a payout after another surgery removed the bags. Instead, she woke up in a hospital bed surrounded by police and nurses. The operation left her with both criminal charges and serious health complications. Investigators used the case to warn how far cartels push desperate couriers' bodies. Shoe heels and soles stuffed with flash drives of stolen data. At a U.S. airport, security staff flagged a businessman whose shoes triggered unusual X-ray images. The heels and soles showed dense shapes that didn't match normal metal shanks. When officers disassembled the shoes, they found multiple hidden flash drives inside. Those drives allegedly contained stolen corporate data worth millions in research costs. The compartments were accessible only by removing specific insoles and tiny hidden screws. To casual inspection, the dress shoes looked expensive but completely ordinary and unworn. Investigators traced the data back to a hacked European technology firm under investigation. Instead of crossing borders through encrypted emails, the thief trusted his own footsteps. He left the airport not for a meeting, but for an interrogation room. Smugglers cast ivory to look like cheap tourist souvenirs. In Southeast Asia, wildlife officers noticed some plastic trinkets felt heavier than expected. The items were simple bracelets and figurines sold in night markets to tourists. Lab tests showed many pieces were actually real ivory covered with fake resin paint. Traffickers shaped tusk fragments into rough forms, then coated them to dull the shine. By mixing genuine ivory with cheap plastic goods, they blurred lines for inspectors. Some stalls even advertised them as bone art, hoping no one asked further questions. Under UV light and close magnification, carved growth patterns finally gave the ivory away. The seizure linked shopkeepers to a larger network moving elephant parts across borders. Those souvenirs ended up locked in evidence rooms instead of living rooms worldwide. Flight attendant tried walking fentanyl through crew security lane. At a U.S. airport, security officers received a tip about a suspicious cabin crew member. The flight attendant breezed through the staff lane carrying only a small lunch bag. Random screening revealed sealed packages taped beneath false bottoms in the food containers. Inside, investigators found powdered fentanyl carefully wrapped to avoid accidental exposure. Because crew lanes face lighter screening, traffickers saw airline staff as perfect couriers. The attendant had allegedly been paid per successful trip between two major cities. DIG checks later revealed unexplained cash deposits far beyond a normal salary. Once arrested, the case prompted airlines to tighten background checks and random crew screenings. Her uniform went from symbol of trust to Exhibit A in a fentanyl trial.